Hey everyone, welcome to the West Shark Entrepreneur Podcast. Thanks for joining us. Thank you for listening and being a part and supporting what we're doing here for local entrepreneurs in Western New York. I just want to give a huge shout out to Incept Marketing for letting us use their studio as always, letting us use this really amazing studio with their equipment and their video and allowing us to just do a better job of providing this for you guys. So if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, if you want to check out our YouTube channel, Western Entrepreneur, you can subscribe to that. That way you're always notified when you want to see the video of it, or if you're on Spotify or iTunes or whatever it's called, whatever platform you're listening to, hit subscribe, give us a review or a rating, an honest one, even if it's not 5 stars. Hey, whatever, you're entitled to your opinion. And so it just helps us with our algorithm getting the show out to more entrepreneurs. So if you haven't done that yet, please do so. And again, thank you to Incept for letting us use their studio. So anyways, let's welcome our guest here today. We have another Joe Manzella, who is the owner of Junk King Buffalo. And Joe, everybody knows you. So welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man.
I appreciate it.
Of course, dude. And I love who you are, Joe. We really got a chance to know each other over the years. So I'm excited to share your story. I'm excited to ask a lot of questions and just to get to know you a little bit better on the entrepreneurial side, man.
Absolutely. I'm excited.
So I know a little bit about your journey, but for those that don't know you, Joe, for the few, tell us a little about your journey. How did you get into entrepreneurship? How did you get into the Junk King business? Because I doubt you woke up one day as a 6-year-old and says, I'm going to own a junk business. So tell me about that. Tell me where it started and where it is today, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I think my entrepreneurial journey really started basically with one of my first jobs out of college as a restaurant manager, kind of leading people, running the restaurant. I became the general manager at a very young age at 25. So I learned a lot about profit and loss and systems and hiring, firing people, and I really enjoyed it. I know a lot of people become a manager and say oh man, I did not love that, but I loved it. I loved working with people. I loved helping people. I loved watching people grow and become who they really are. So I kind of took that, and I left that job because I had a young child at the time, and those 3 a.m. nights were just a little too much for me at the time. And I went to actually become an entrepreneur as a financial advisor. Was really, really enjoying that job and had a great time, was learning and really coming into my own, and then COVID hit, and it became really hard to have a kid, a house, and a full commission job. So I had to leave that job, kind of take an opportunity, take something with a salary at a business. And amazingly, I fell into a job and got a job working with entrepreneurs at Paychex doing payroll sales. So that really just kind of whet the appetite even more. I got to talk to entrepreneurs every day, got to talk to people about business, payroll, what they're doing. And of course, as I'm talking to them, I'm asking them their why they did it, how they did it, kind of what got them started, and maybe challenges. I'm seeing challenges as they're dealing with tax issues, things along those lines. But it really drove me to want to be a part of it, to kind of crave more than just doing sales for someone else. So it pushed me into that entrepreneurial spirit. I had an opportunity to kind of buy into a business with a couple of friends and partners a little while back. That business unfortunately didn't make it, but that whet the appetite even further. And then I saw on Facebook an ad for purchasing Junk King. And I said, I was actually sitting at Hamburg Brewing and having a beer, doing some prospecting. And I said, you know what, it's worth a conversation. And I made the phone call, talked to the broker, had a really great convo, and it kind of took off from there. And here we are almost a year and a half later.
That's awesome. You did a really good job of doing that in a very short time.
Yeah, unbelievable.
And I'm sure it went by fast, man. So that being said, dude, so obviously, actually, let's ask about that. So when people are buying a franchise through a broker, what did that process look like? Was it easy? Was it hard? Was it what are questions that maybe you weren't ready for, or just if you were thinking about buying a business that's already a franchise but it's already owned by someone, what should people know before they dive into something like that?
I think they should really have a great attorney. I worked with Alyssa Gross. She made sure I had a lot of great questions to ask to make sure that we were getting all the information, doing our due diligence. I think that's the most important part, is to take a look at the financials, the numbers, make sure it's all real, make sure there's nothing getting fudged.
Did attorney look at all the numbers too?
I had an accountant look at the numbers as well.
Okay.
So I had my accountant take a look at some of the numbers, make sure it seemed legit. I worked with my financial advisor as well and took a look at that information. So we went through it all and really just get to know the person who owned it and make sure that you actually vibe with them. Even though you're not really going to partner with them down the line, they're still going to help you out a little bit. And if they're running the business in a completely different way than you would have, you're going to find that it would be tough to really take that business over.
Right, because they're used to a different style.
Yeah, so you're going to have to take those employees over. You're going to have to take the way it's being run over, and kind of slowly make the changes to be the way you want it to be.
That makes sense. And I knew the previous owner too, great guy, so it makes sense, right?
Yeah,
Another guy hanging off to another great guy.
Absolutely, it worked out really well, and he's helped out, and he's done a lot to help me grow the business.
Yeah, that's actually, I was actually interested about that because I never bought. I own a franchise too, so I know the process of that. But I never bought one that already was existing from the previous, right? I just took it over from scratch and started it in Buffalo. But you started, so I was actually wondering about that.
That's really cool. And another thing I would say is to make sure you get to know the franchise. Make sure the franchise fits what you need. I think you would probably agree with that. Having a franchise is, if you don't fit with the franchise or they don't have the tools for you, it's going to be really hard to grow that business.
Very cool. So that being said, man, I have a couple questions here. I want to make sure that my ADD doesn't go off the rails too much here, man. So, Joe, I think everybody that knows you on a deep level knows like you're a busy guy, right? I know, Joe, when you're a lot like me, where you're like, man, that guy's got a lot going on. Like, so you have a young, growing family, just like I do. Yeah. And how do you manage it all, Joe? Like, how do you? I know nobody has the perfect formula here, but what has worked for you? How do you manage it?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's been a learning experience. I think with a young family, my son's 4 months old now, and I have an 8-year-old as well. Getting home at a certain time, at least a couple nights a week, making sure I have the weekends free and not committing to things that are above and beyond, and really focusing on what I'm working on. And I think it's actually you who said something in a meeting we had one time, is to try to build the lake deep and not wide. To make sure that you're building that lake deep in the areas you want to. So with family, business, and work, to make sure that I am focusing on those three things and not things that are distracting or outside or little ancillary businesses or things along those lines. And I think that's been a real key to being there for my family, being at sporting events, being there for my son's first things, crawling, walking soon, maybe, we'll see, and all of that. But, being able to go on a vacation and take that time off. So really setting up my team and making sure that I am focused.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not easy. There's always fires to put out. There's always something drawing your attention. There's always, all it takes is one text from, I don't know, an employee that kind of ruins your day and ruins your mood and ruins your dinner. Like, I'm speaking from my experience, not from yours. I don't, obviously not with you.
Same thing, man. It's unbelievable. We were on vacation last week and got a couple of texts in the morning. So I was like, I can have a bad day. I was like, I'm going to do my best not to have a bad day. But
it's so tough to like unplug and separate from it. It's so tough. So I just wanted to get your perspective as another dad, young, growing family, multiple businesses. And so that being said, man, obviously you're go, go, go. But what have you learned the most about owning multiple businesses at once? Like anything that kind of stands out to you?
I think one of the things I've learned the most is one of the hardest things, which is letting go of things, which is allowing your employees to do what you've hired them to do. I've got a general manager at Junk King who does a lot every single day. He communicates with customers, communicates with employees. He goes above and beyond. He does that extra step. But letting go of some of those things and worrying about some of those things has been a struggle, but also the thing that allows me to spend the time with my family, because I know he's got it.
Yeah.
I trust that he's got it. I trust that he's on it and that he is doing what he needs to do. And if he's not, he checks it.
Yeah. And it's so tough, right? Because we're such control freaks. At least I'll speak for me as an entrepreneur that's a control freak here. And you're totally right. Like, I love that. So, like, let's actually turn that question over to our listeners. So, for whether you're watching here on YouTube or just listening to this in your car, what do you need to let go of? What need you let go of to create room for something else? Whether it's not just physically letting go of something, but mentally letting go so you can create room for something better and maybe more healthy for you, more peaceful for you. For me, it's not taking things personally. I don't think people are necessarily, sometimes we feel like they're out to get us, right? They're just like, you want to ruin my day because whatever, right? And that's not the case. It's just not the case, not taking it personal. How many times, Joe, that you're talking to somebody and then you find out, like, not even right away, maybe 4 months later, you're like, oh, that's what they were dealing with? That had nothing to do with me.
Unbelievable.
That had nothing to do with me. Yeah. That was just what happened there was just the straw that broke the camel's back. And they took it out on you, and you're like, you can't take it personally. So that's one thing I found from letting go. And so I loved your advice there. Now, you've owned multiple businesses. You've had partners. Yep. And one thing I've never really did is I never really had a legitimate business partner before. You have employees, but like a legit business partner, because I don't know, maybe I don't play well with others in the sandbox. Maybe I'm the control freak in me is like, I like the final say in things. So You've had business partners. How do you view partnerships now that you've had partnerships before, right? And so how do you view them? What should others know about business partnerships based on your experience?
So I think having a partner is really, somebody put it to me really well. It's like having a marriage. You really have to work together. You have to be willing to compromise. You have to be willing to take other people's opinions in and kind of work together to get to that common goal. So I think the one thing that we learned in our partnership was we needed to sit down every couple weeks to actually have almost a planning, like a full-on planning meeting, and talk every couple days for 5, 10, 15 minutes in the morning, just to make sure we're moving in the right direction, that everyone's doing the right thing, and that we're all not doing the same thing over and over again. Because in a partnership, you're all control freaks at the end of the day, and you all want to get things done the way you want to get done fast, but you have to trust that your partners are going to do the things that you've asked them to do and stay in their lanes. I think that's the biggest thing, is to make sure you and your partners are in your own lanes, you have defined lanes. So really it comes down to planning it, defining it, and then enacting it.
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth. I was thinking like stay in your lane. Now, do you agree? I've heard people say, and again, I love it because I'm not in it, but like what some people say, like only partner with people that are kind of your opposite. They can only give what you couldn't. Like maybe like for example, I'm not a big networker. Jeez, Joe, you're the network machine. So maybe like that's when you would come into play. Or maybe someone's like, oh, you're very numbers based. I'm not numbers based. That would make sense to me to partner with you, or you have strategic partnerships that I don't have that would be harder for me to get. Do you agree that you have to have opposites, or can you have somebody like of your? Because sometimes you have your friend who you want to partner with, but you guys are literally cut from the same cloth. That's probably why you're friends.
Yeah.
Do you kind of go against that? Would you ever partner with a friend again? I think there's another way to put it.
Absolutely. I mean, I think I would definitely partner with a friend again. I think I would partner with those same friends again. You know, with just in a different mold or different model. I do think you do need to have people who have different skill sets, and I think with my partnership, we thought we were actually very similar, and we found that I was more operationally driven, and so other people were more high level or more thought. Hey, this is how we want to drive, big vision people. So it ended up working out really well, even though we thought we were very similar at the beginning. So I would definitely recommend having different lanes, different roles. You're able to then have different responsibilities. If someone's great at operations, let them run the people, let them hire, let them fire, let them kind of talk to the manager and say, hey, this is what we want today. This is what we need. And then the other person can drive that vision, drive those goals, and drive sales.
That's so yeah, you're totally right. So like I'm a big vision person. I don't like getting to nitty gritty. I don't like details. I'm not a big operations person. I don't mind being in a little bit, but I don't want to be in on a week to week in out.
Yeah.
Like so for me, I like hitting 30,000 foot feet. I don't want to be actually on the ground. So that's really cool. So I just a thought that you kind of brought up there. But so that being said, do you have any systems in place that you have found that work well for you to kind of have everything handled within the business at all?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to say I have everything handled every day, but that is not the case every day. But one thing that keeps me kind of grounded in my days is having a plan to start the day and knowing that at some point that plan probably is going to go off the rails, but being able to look back after it went off the rails instead of just kind of wallowing or sulking and saying, hey, this was a bad situation. Like, for example, I've gotten trucks stuck in people's driveways.
Yeah.
And I got to go get them. I got to go tow them out instead of paying $500 for a tow or whatever it may cost. I got to figure out my truck and hope that we can get it and kind of come to a creative solution. That could absolutely ruin a whole day. It took an hour. Went and got it, upset about it, annoyed that I wasted time. But instead, maybe we'll go back to my to-do list and say, all right, I got to cut 2 of these things off, push them tomorrow. These weren't important, or they can get done later and kind of efficiently finish that day. So knowing what to do next, having a plan, having it set up for yourself is important.
And is there any like boundaries that you put in place at all? Like I call them guardrails. I'd rather hit a guardrail than end up in a ditch. Rather have a scratch than a totaled car. Any guardrails that you think you kind of found out? Like I'll give you an example. Like I put my phone down past 4. I put it, which is really hard to do because you want to check it. You want to be like, oh, I own 6 Airbnbs. There's always, even though I just want to handle all the message, we have people in place here. I still want to check and say, oh, did someone book me? It's like not even a negative thing. It's not, did someone book me for this? What's going on? You just want to know, right? You feel like you're not in the loop here. So, like, any boundaries that you've kind of found out for yourself that has helped you become a healthier Joe?
I think in the first year of running Junking, it's been tough to set those kind of boundaries with the phones. I do make sure I spend about an hour family time with the phone kind of put away almost every day. I do my best to make sure that, I'm not answering that. I'm not looking at my computer. I'm not looking at my phone. I'm not sending out messages or doing YouTube or Facebook or videos.
It's getting lost.
Or whatever it may be. I find that I can get lost real easy in that stuff. So I think that's one of the things I try to do. I'm definitely working on setting more boundaries because it's important for the family. You know, if you're not present, are you really spending family time?
Yeah, I feel like you and I are kind of the same person. Like, yeah, you're here, Dave, but you're not here.
Yeah.
Like, you're not really here.
You're really not here. You're working.
I would, and it's so fair. And I mean, I'm just being honest. How many times have I heard that over the years, right? So it's just like, okay, well, I can't change what happened last week. What can I do to put boundaries up? Like, one thing, especially since having a baby, I realized if I want to get anything freaking done, I got to get up at 5 a.m.
Yep.
And I got to put my phone in my office on a charger that's not. I can't even be in the pathway from walking downstairs through the kitchen into the living room. Like, the home office is on the opposite side of the house, because if I even just pass my phone, my addiction, nervousness will want to reach for it and be like, who texted me, right?
What's going on?
What's going on?
No one's texting you 5 a.m.
Yeah. Well, like, that's it, dude, right? And I don't have my phone with me because then sometimes I'll get caught scrolling to midnight. I go, I got to be up in 5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So things like that. I always love picking people's brains on that. But anyways, man, so what have you learned in terms of what do others need to know before getting into the junk removal business? I feel like sometimes people's like, I just need a truck and I'm ready to go.
Sure.
I got to imagine it's a hell of a lot more than that.
Man. The things I've learned, I think one of the biggest things I've learned kind of getting into the junk removal is that one of the expenses that's really unknown that you can't control for is the trucks themselves. They're going to break down. Whether it's a trailer that you got behind your truck, something's going to happen. Something's going to get dented. You might get a flat tire. You could get that stuck somewhere. Somebody might damage it when you rent it out. Or a full-on Isuzu dump body that we have. Something's going to break. And it's going to happen at the most inopportune times when you're the busiest and you need the truck the most. So you really have to be prepared to handle that and prepared to handle those expenses. It is absolutely going to cost you money. These things aren't cheap to fix. Your car's not cheap to fix.
Yep.
Imagine a big truck with 6 wheels and diesel fuel and all these sensors and things along those lines. So that was a big learning experience. So I've learned a lot about vehicles. I've learned a lot about kind of DIYing some of that stuff that I can. Of course, there's certain things you just can't, but doing oil changes, checking out sensors, things along those lines. I've figured out a lot along those lines. So that's something I would be prepared for if you're looking to start a junk removal company.
Yeah.
And then really just realizing that everyone's not going to do things the way you do. People aren't going to be point A to point B like you go. They're not going to say, oh, this is in Amherst, this is in Amherst. I'm just going to stay in Amherst and then go to the one in Hamburg later. It's, oh, this was at 10 and 11. And we have 2-hour windows for our appointments. So, like, we have a little leeway there. So if I had a 10, 11, and a 12, someone might go from Amherst to Hamburg to Amherst again.
Why would you do it that way?
Because that's how the schedule looks.
Yeah.
So, like, kind of having to teach the team, like, hey, you're in Amherst. Go knock that one out in Amherst real quick. And having to teach them that and not just say, what are you doing? I can't believe you didn't do that. How could you not? It's gone a long way.
Because at least I'll speak for me. That's my natural, like, what are you doing, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, let's walk you through this. Like, let's just do this better next time,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense. So for those that are looking to hire a junk company like removal, like, is there certain questions that you think people should be asking, or how do they know that they're being handled correctly, or maybe they know they're hiring the right company?
Absolutely. I mean, I think the one thing is to look at reviews. I mean, reviews are always important for any business, but especially in junk business. We handle 10 to 15 appointments a day. So we're seeing a lot of homes. We're in a lot of homes. If we were doing damage or if we were causing issues, you would know it, and you would know it fast. You would see those negative reviews coming in. Hey, they damaged my door, or hey, they scratched up my wall on the way out, or they cut the floor up. So you would definitely see that pretty quickly in Google or Facebook reviews. I would also look at the way they interact on social media and places like that. It's not somewhere you typically look, but certain times you notice that some people interact certain ways, and making sure that they're
very defensive, offended,
making sure that they're kind and always responsive. If they're going to be responsive on social media, they're going to be responsive when they call. Another thing I would look at is just kind of, again, that experience level. A company that's been around for 5 years has more experienced employees. If they're showing up with one employee to move a couch, do you really trust that person to move a couch? You're not getting that couch out of there safely. Insurance is a big thing. I mean, much like in any contracting business, if you don't have insurance, the homeowner's at risk. And a lot of homeowners don't really realize that. Is if something happened on your property, they could sue you for liability if they don't have the insurance properly.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's good. One of the things that you said was social media interaction. Like, it's so true. Like obviously as entrepreneurs, a lot of us are friends with entrepreneurs that we don't know and that we do know, right? And how I can't tell you, I'm trying to think of a specific one off the top of my head, but just in a general sense is I can't. It's happened so many times where I don't know this person. They might do. I'll give you an example. Maybe roofing, and I noticed that they'll just the way they comment on somebody else. It has nothing to do with their business, but the way they comment it, like it's just like, wow, that was very derogative.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't want that person on my roof, not because they have a sailor's mouth, but like I could just tell that their attitude, how they view things. And I went, and we're not talking politics in any way, shape, or form here, and we're talking about like just. You know what I'm talking about? Like, there's just derogative. Okay.
You can just
like,
feel it.
You can just feel it. You're just like, oh, that person just has a bad mindset.
Yeah, they're talking bad about another company. Like, just, run your own company. I think every other junk company in Buffalo is amazing.
Yeah.
I like to partner with them. I like to talk to them. I like to collaborate. It works out to learn more about the industry and grow it as a whole in Buffalo.
That's it. And so people notice that stuff. So like if you're on social media, like even if you're commenting on your cousin's page about the Bills game, right? And you just say, well, that effing person is such an idiot and moron, and da-da-da. I'm like, whoa, okay, this person is a loose cannon.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want them at my house. I'm not going to lie. I sit there and I think about that stuff. Sometimes I go, okay, that person clearly is a loose cannon. Emotional intelligence is low, right? So just think about that stuff. Something to think about. And I'm sure there's times where I've had to apologize for doing something stupid too. Not perfect. But going into the next question, we're packing a lot in here today.
Good one.
I love it, Joe. We're fast-paced people. So you're a big networker, man. So like, where did you get your networking start? What do you suggest networking? And then any tips? Like that could be a lot of right there, but where's your brain going?
I mean, honestly, it oddly started kind of in the restaurant business. I worked at Fridays, and the brand was kind of going in a negative direction, if you will. Not like for any reason, just it wasn't the type of restaurants people wanted to go to anymore. They're looking for those more local, homegrown restaurants. So I had to really network to get people back in the doors. We had to do special events. We had to do luau's. We had to do tiki nights, things along those lines outside of just what the brand was doing to really push that. So I learned what it took to put on an event, to host people, to get people in the door through that. And then as a financial advisor, I had a manager who just pushed me to go out and talk to everybody. He said, if you shake 20 hands a day, you're never going to fail in whatever you do. Shake 20 different hands, talk to 20 new people. Even if they have nothing to do with your business, they'll never buy something from you, or they'll never use you. They're going to remember you, or they're going to talk to you, or they might tell their cousin about you, whatever it may be. And that's gone a long way. That's really resonated with me, is to try and talk to those 20 new people a day. And some days it's hard. Sometimes it's tough. I have to find that I count social media interaction and meeting people on that too. I can't be on the pavement all day, every day, with two businesses or family, and a job.
Plus, everything's online these days.
Yeah.
There's not a networking event every day.
No, it's definitely, I've noticed, so I started as financial advisor before the pandemic, and there was lunches, there was events, there was anything and everything you could go to network every single day. I mean, you could probably find a different networking event every day. And unfortunately, it's really slowed down since the pandemic. It's starting to come back a little bit, but it's not as often. There's not those big gala-style events or huge, like we're going to get 100 people at the Limehouse and have a networking event like there used to be. So you really have to pick and choose what you're going to now and make sure that it's going to be efficient and that you're still meeting new people.
Yeah. Now, I love that. 20 handshakes. That's so smart because you're totally right. What are the odds of them needing a junk removal service? What are the odds of needing a financial advisor? What are the odds of needing, you're just saying advertising, SEO, whatever they want? The odds are probably slim if we're being honest about the situation here. And sometimes you can tell when you introduce yourself and what you do, you can tell they mentally checked out. You know what I'm talking about? They're like, yeah, okay, sounds good. And you can tell they're already looking for their escape. And I'm like, okay, well, like, yeah, I don't need what you have right now, but like I can tell I'm already like, you're on the hunt. And it's a negative perception with that, right? You can't use me, therefore you want to dump me.
Sure.
Right? So
absolutely.
like I've always noticed that. I pay attention to that. In fact, people probably think this is weird, but like, I remember when I bought a really nice suit, I showed up with a wife beater on and like probably crappy shorts and some flip-flops on. I wanted to know, how was the guy in Napoli's going to treat me? Like, hey, are you gonna, these are a little expensive for these suits, I like knowing what people can. maybe that's a huge motivation behind me. I like to give people things before I ever ask for anything.
Absolutely.
Because I just know what it's like to kind of feel that way, right? You just
Yeah.
feel like, you want me until you can't use me. So anything that you've kind of noticed when you network that maybe that you think people should stop doing, or maybe opposite side, maybe should start doing, anything that you've noticed just from, you've been doing this for years, Joe, so I wonder if anything that you've noticed.
I think one of the things, we'll start with start doing. I think one of the things you should start doing is, like you just said, asking how you can help people and actually going out and doing it, almost doing it immediately. I think you're really good at that. My partner, Dan, was really good at that. He is always, when I first met him, there was 3 text messages out from the time we left lunch to, hey, you should know this guy. Get to know him. I think that's a really important thing, is to make sure you're actually doing what you say you're going to do, too. If you say you're going to help someone and you're going to offer that, introduce them to that person. Don't just say you're going to do it. Don't just shoot out the email. Send a group text.
How many times do you say in the store, oh, we should grab lunch, and you don't?
Oh,
right?
Like, I'm supposed to grab lunch with probably 300 people right now.
Yeah.
But
so start doing it,
Yeah, start actually doing it. Send that message immediately. I find that text messages are probably one of the better ways to introduce people. Email's great, but they can get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah.
If you get a text and a group message, it's easy to follow up. It's something I think that a lot of people should maybe stop doing as they're networking, is immediately pitching what they do. Is just walking up and saying, hey, I'm Joe. I do junk removal. We can come take your stuff. What do you need? I'll come get your couch tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or whatever it may be, whatever business that may be that you're in. Like you said, that person might not need you right now. But if you set a good expectation, you set a good meeting, and they like you, know, like, and trust you. It's important to get them to know, like, and trust you, and they'll use you when they need you, and they'll remember who you are.
That's so true, Joe, because like most people don't care what you do until they know that you care, right? It sounds very obvious, but like they want. Do you even connect? Sometimes when we skip over like what we do, we realize that we're both Bills season ticket holders.
Yeah.
We realize that we both. You have a 12-month-old kid. I have a 12-month-old kid, right? You actually go here and you golf here. I golf there every Thursday, and you miss these amazing connections that you both don't need each other right now, but you just again 2 degree separation, his cousin, all that other stuff.
Sure.
You're totally right, man. Like it is all about like. I love connecting with people who are just good people who just so happen to fill in the blank.
Yeah.
Be a good financial advisor, a good business owner, things of that nature. So that being said, what is your go-to question when you're networking, or maybe a go-to thing when you're networking, or just at a networking event, a gala, things like that? Anything that you kind of like to go to at all?
I just love finding out more about that person. Actually seeing what their why is. What they like to do. Kind of find out about a hobby. Something like you said, you might find out that you have golf in common, or Bill season ticket holders, or both. I like to talk about that person. I think when you run a lot of your networking events, you do a really good job saying like, hey, first half hour, don't even talk about your business. You're not allowed to do it. And if I find you doing it, I'm going to stop you, because you get to know that person more than just what their business is. I find that a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners become their business, and you almost have to, in a sense. But you can't live only in that business. You still have to enjoy. You still have to do hobbies. And if you don't, you're going to get yourself wrapped up too much in it and go down a path that you really shouldn't.
Well, it just starts to get mundane, boring, almost like monotonous, and like you're totally right. And one thing I want to say about you, Joe, I want to like celebrate you for a second. You are really good at you clearly have like, I'm trying to think here, like not an inner circle, because you're so collaborative. You're not like it's not like hard to get with you, but like I notice you have like you have people in your corner who just root for you. And they root for you everywhere. Like Alyssa, right? You mentioned Alyssa, your turn. Like whenever people are like, oh, you gotta connect with Joe, like you have these raving fans. That's it. You have these raving fans who just love who you are. Because all day I can say all day, I'm a good person. I'm good at what you do. Of course you feel like you're biased, right? Your kid's always the best, right? But when you have another parent says, oh, you should put Joe's kid in, he's a really good quarterback, right? Now that sings more, right? It means more, oh, another person who doesn't have any really benefit from it to get that. So you're really good at building raving fans in your corner. And I'm sure that's just coming from being a good person, but anything that stands out to you to help other people build that raving fans like you do.
I mean, I think being out there, networking, going out, meeting those people, hang out with them, and when they ask you for help, go help. Go do something for that person. Being that person to recognize when maybe that person's down a little bit and actually ask and be sincere, be real. Don't just, brush over it and say, again, hey, what can I do for you? Can I do some junk removal for you today? Can I be your financial advisor today? Or anything along those lines. I think actually getting to the root and becoming, a friend of that person goes a long way to create those raving fans. Doing the lunches, doing the, going out of the way, hanging out outside of work time, and kind of almost saying like, we're not going to talk about work today.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're going to enjoy the time. We're going to talk about kids. We're going to do whatever it may be. Goes a really long way to create those raving fans, and just being genuine. Be who you are, and people are going to sense that. If you're faking it till you make it, you know, it's great, you know, and it's awesome. But if you're a genuine person who cares about people, others are going to recognize that.
They're really going to recognize, and they see the consistency of it. Anybody can be anybody on the first date. Where are you 6 dates from now, right? Everybody says they're not crazy, right? But that's it, man. Like, I think it's so important to just give before you do that. And if I notice that I'm complaining about why do I have a raving fan, or maybe I notice why aren't people, whatever, I should be that first for that person. If I want Mark to be my raving fan, I want to be Mark's raving fan. Hey, have you guys seen Mark? It costs money. It's like you have to buy anything. It just on Facebook. Hey guys, if anyone's ever looking for A, B, and C, Mark is your guy, and Mark is a great dude. I love doing that because I'm like, how do I expect other people to do that for me if I've never done that for them? How do I expect other people to connect me with people if I've never connected them with people? How do I expect people to give things to me when I'm not giving to them? Be first in that. And I noticed that with you, Joe. Like, I just noticed that whenever I talk to Joe, I know I don't have to talk about business at all. We could talk about God knows what. And not only that, not only do that, but Joe's cool with it.
Yeah.
Because you get those some people who don't want to go that way.
Yep. It's funny. I actually have a really good example of kind of something that went that way. It was a person I'm not friends with and had done work with, but I had no intention of doing work with them. He was a roofer in Buffalo. Put up a message saying his truck was stuck in his yard, and I remember he lived on Grand Island. I showed him a message. I was like, "Hey, where are you? I'm on my way home. I got toe straps on my truck. I might be able to get you out."
Yeah.
He was like, "Dude, I got I got there." He's like, "Man, nobody was offering help. I didn't really have anyone. I don't have people I can reach out to." And he was like, "We've never really even met in person besides sort of like you tried something table 4 years ago for like 30 minutes." And I went and told him out, and now he's become someone who refers to me, and I refer him in his business. And it's amazing to see that and how quickly that can blossom. It wasn't, I didn't do it because I wanted to refer my business. I didn't do it because I wanted to like put it on social media. I don't care about that. I just wanted to go help someone.
Yeah.
I was like, "Hey, I'm pretty sure you said you live on Grand Island. I've seen people with your shirts on that I think was your girlfriend on Grand Island at the tops. Like, it's a pretty small community. You recognize people." And he was 2 minutes away from the house, went home, grabbed some straps, and pulled them right out.
That's really cool.
It was a good experience. It was a good time, and I felt like I was really helping.
Good things happen to good people. And Joe, we're at 30 minutes, so we're done here, man.
Wow.
So isn't that crazy?
That's amazing.
So for those that really connect with you, man, that would love to grab coffee with you, maybe they need to be towed out. I'm just kidding. What is the best way for them to either, maybe they want to ask a question, maybe they want to network with you. What is the best way? Some people are out their cell phone, some people have their email out, somebody, whatever you feel comfortable, what's the best way to connect?
I think really anyway, cell phone, email, social media, send me a message on DM. I'll answer those probably the least fast because I don't see them sometimes. But any way of communication, if I don't answer right away, I'm probably going to answer at some point pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I'm happy to get back to you and communicate with anyone. Any questions? I'm always open to help.
Cool. Do you know your email? I know your cell phone.
Yeah.
If you want to put them on the air, just let me know.
Sure. Yeah, my email is jmanzella, manzella55@gmail.com.
Very cool. Awesome, man. Well, thanks for being on the show, dude. It's about time we got you on here.
Yeah, I was excited.
I'm glad my assistant finally set it up, but thanks so much for your time, brother.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on. Really excited to be on WNY Entrepreneur Podcast and can't wait to continue growing the community.